Hi, and welcome to Fire from the Archive, this time with Linda Haney, who is someone I am so pleased to call a friend. She's been part of Camversation for absolutely years. If you've not seen Linda's work, she's a fabulously creative person, and her 5 images really demonstrate the impact that photography has had on her. Okay, so Linda, thanks so much for coming along to do this today and taking part in this, because it's such a big part. You're such a big part of our community, and people love your photography. And I know you inspire so many. You certainly inspire me. So thanks very much for doing this today. And I'm just going to start by saying the reason that I know Linda, or the reason that I know of Linda, is obviously I'd seen Linda's work for years, and we organised a Manchester meetup, a Manchester walk around, which was a freezing cold day in December. We were snowed on,
Yes.
hailed on, and all kinds of things. And throughout the day, people kept nudging me left, right, and centre and saying, "There's Linda Haney there. Have you spoken to Linda Haney? There's Linda Haney." It was like a celebrity in the crowd. It was great, Linda.
Dear.
Loved it. So I then spoke to Linda and connected the fact I'd seen your photography before with the person who was actually doing it. So really wonderful to have you here, Linda.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing this. And so I wanted to start really, I think we have similar backgrounds, but I find yours interesting as well. So I wanted to start by how you got into photography, really, how you got to this point, and how it's
Uh,
developed, really, Linda.
yeah, well, it's the development really, because I've taken photographs all my life, from my granddad's friend who started it all off, telling me that it was all magic as a small child, and then my dad. And I've always taken photographs, and you have a family and you take photographs of the family. And really, it all kicked off when I saw my first copy of Photoshop. And that was when I was teaching physics, and a colleague in the physics department was using Photoshop, and he was creating some, well, weird and wonderful images. And I stood and watched him, and I thought I could do that. So he said, well, you'll need to buy a digital camera. So that was really the start of the digital camera and everything else. And it just built up from there. And I did ask him how you use Photoshop. It was version 3.5. And he said it was 1994. So I've been using it for 30 years. But he said, well, just use it, just play. And I've reminded him of that since. And he said, well, it was good advice, wasn't it? Because that's what you've done. And that's what I tell everybody else. Just open it, watch a few things, but then just play. And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. It's not the end of the world. You'll learn more that way. So, yes, and it's just developed along as I've done different things. And yeah.
And that notion of play is really interesting, because obviously
Yeah.
I've been out, I've fortunate enough to have been out photographing with you, Linda. And I think how you how you approach your photography is from a, let's try this, let's try that, let's try the
Yeah.
other. And I've been stood next to Linda thinking, what can I take a picture of? And at the same time, Linda's firing off loads of pictures. And I know at the end of it, you've always got something from it. So did that kind of playfulness approach start in Photoshop, or was it always there in your photography?
I think it started with Photoshop. I think then the difference was the digital camera, obviously, because you can fire 100 shots off and keep one. You can't do that with film. You don't know what you're getting. So I think it was the digital era that kicked it all off for me. And it was just, I always say I'll photograph anything and everything. And I've got a cupboard full of lenses, different lenses. And every so often I think, oh, I must get that out. And I saw something last night, an infrared photograph. And I thought, I've got an infrared camera, a Nikon that I've never used. I've used it for that. And I thought, well, it's maybe not the right time of year, but it doesn't matter, does it? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I should get it out, charge it up and get out there and play with it. There's just not enough hours in the day, Mark.
When I look at your work, I consider you to be quite an artist. Do you
Yeah.
consider yourself a photographer, or a more of a conceptual kind of photographic artist? I don't mean that in a pompous way. I'm just
No,
really interested as to how you sort of position yourself, really, Linda.
I think I was just an ordinary photographer until I did a foundation photography degree, and that was all about the concept. It was contemporary photography practice, but it was all conceptual. it didn't matter what you photographed as long as you could explain it. You had it went with it. And I learned an awful lot, and I saw a lot of artists and a lot of photographers that had tried different things. And I started seeing I would like to be able to paint, and I probably can a little bit. I like watercolors because they're messy and they run around and you can do things with them. And I saw that I could do that with photography. So I guess it's all conceptual, isn't it? And that's what, I do a straight photograph now and I have to fiddle with it. I can't leave it alone. It's boring. I need to make it move or make it do something.
Yeah. I empathize with that, because that's often what I think when I see your images, is that there's always something happening in there. They're not always as what they seem. Thanks very much, Linda. So what we're doing is we are just looking at your first of the 5 now. So please do take us through this whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is what I was talking about when I was at college. I saw photographers that were using intentional camera movement, and I maybe had seen it before, but I hadn't realized how they got these sort of images. And there's nothing special about this image, but it was where it all started for me. I suddenly realized that if you waved your camera about, you could get more an artistic feel. And this was just driving along a road, and my camera, I was in the passenger seat, my camera was on the dashboard, and I just kept pressing the button, and it was on a slower shutter speed. I can't remember what it was on. It was quite a while ago. And it was just the shapes, and it was the way the light was sculpted round things. And that particular road, there are quite a few tree roots go under the road, so you're bumping all the time, and that's why you're getting that. But it just made me look at, I did so many. I waved my camera around at everything and got all sorts of things, and a lot of them were deleted. It didn't work at night with lights particularly. You had to be careful. But when there was natural light like this, it was just amazing. So, this is, I suppose, where it all started, all the creative photography, really. That's why I've chosen this one. As I say, not that it's special, but...
But on that one, Linda, you talked about the tree roots going under the road and causing those bumps. But interestingly, those bumps are then represented directly in the trees
Yes.
themselves, aren't they? So
Yeah.
there's a real quality to this, whether intentional or unintentional. But I can see why this motivated you to carry on.
Well, it was part of, I think, a project that I was doing. And of course, being conceptual, you have to explain it. And I have no idea where it is now, but I did use that as something to do with life and the bumps in life, like bumps in the road. And it comes out, it was all, it's one of those things that some people look at it and think, what on earth are you talking about? But, the lecturers understood it. And so that's what I was trying to do, relate what I was doing to real life. This one, I'd been given a 100 to 400 lens to try, because the friend of mine who was selling it said he didn't really want it anymore, but I could try it. So I live fairly close to the River Weaver. I used to walk down there quite often and walk through the fields. And I'd mainly go and photograph butterflies and damselflies and birds. And I saw the hares. They weren't sitting like that. They were separate. But I managed to get a few shots of them. And when I got back home, of course, they were hares. They were amazing. I love hares. I've got hares everywhere in the house, but not real ones. But I looked at it for a while and I thought, it doesn't look anything like the picture I saw in my head when I looked at the hares. So I created it. So this was really one of the first composites that I did. And I decided I put the butterfly on. Nothing. It's all separate. I mean, they were in the field and the grass was quite long, but I've painted the bits of grass on there. I'd never done it before. I just tried it, and like I do with all my images, I play with them until I get something that works for me. And the trees, I don't know where I photographed the trees, but they were put on. And so this was the start of doing a lot of composites of animals, because I entered competitions with it, BPE competitions, and it was accepted because they hadn't really seen animals in composites before. So I started doing it. Yeah.
So with this one, Linda, if I could just jump in on this one, you've spoken to us in the past about your approach to composite editing, so I won't ask those questions. But when you said that you played with it until you got it right, how long is that play time? How long is it that you start with this and you think, okay, I've got something in my mind, I'm going to dedicate X amount of time to it?
I don't. I don't do that. I just sit with it and I start. I mean, I had several photographs of the hares and I put several of them on different layers, and I move them around and try them until it looks like a composition that's going to work. And then I delete all the others. And once I've got the hares how I want them, then I start adding in the backgrounds to it. And it just evolves. There's no real thing in my head about it. But the one thing I do, I save it all as layers. So this background is saved without the hares and the butterfly on it. So I could use it if I needed to. I think I have used it in other images, but it's all still in layers. So I can change things around, take the trees out, add more to them, however I want to do it. So I don't have ideas. I just have images that I play with until something comes.
Yeah,
And it
super.
does.
Thank you. Yeah, invariably, it always does. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Linda.
Right, this one I think you may have seen before, but when I was thinking about these 5 images, I thought I have to include this one. This is John, my husband, who was suffering from dementia. This was during lockdown. And really, when I look at it, it isn't a sad image. It reminds me of a happy time that we managed to spend a few months during lockdown sitting in the garden. John has a bench there and he loved that bench, and he'd sit doing crosswords that he wasn't really doing, but he was looking at them. And I was photographing flowers, and suddenly the focus jumped through the flower onto him. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, what's it done that for? And then the more I looked at it, I thought, this is what's happening to John. He's disappearing. And so I did a series of photographs like that. I showed them to him. He understood at the time. It was 2 years after this that he went into care, and he's still living in care, and he's really happy. He still knows me. I'm not sure he knows who I am, but he knows me. But anyway, but this really, the sitting in the garden in the summer, it wasn't summer, it was spring, that first lockdown. John didn't understand lockdown, so I had to be with him. Otherwise, he'd have been up and gone and gone walking, and he would approach people. He didn't know anything about it, and so whilst it's a sad subject, this is really our last happy time together before he descended further into it, and to be able to spend it like that fills me full of joy, really, that we did get this time together. And it was lockdown that caused it, because we couldn't go anywhere, so we sat together in the garden. And fortunately, the weather was a bit better than it is now.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so a lot of memories with that one, and so different meanings to it.
Linda, I think it's fair to say that whenever you do presentations, you ask for donations to charity. So I'll pop a link at the end of this. So if anybody would like to see, to sort of take part in that, then they're more than welcome to do so as well, because it's such an important thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
sharing something so poignant as well.
Yes, well, it was something. These images all mean something to me. So this one was taken a few weeks ago. I'd just the day before I'd had a telephone consultation with a cardiologist. 2 years after I'd had my heart attack, And he was really positive. He was a lovely guy. We had a nice chat, and he said, "Oh, the great news is your heart. There's no damage to your heart. You're absolutely fine." And he said, we discussed my medication. He said he'd reduce some of the medication, and then he said, "But," and I thought, "Oh, no, you can't. Please don't say but." And he said, "But you had an echocardiogram, and we discovered you've got a leaking heart valve." Well, I was devastated when he said that. But he did say straight away, "Don't worry about it. Lots of people have. You're lucky because you know about it. We know about it, and we will monitor it. And, if the worst comes to the worst, we can whip you in and sort it." It was, he was so positive, this guy. But then afterwards, I was, because I'd had the echocardiogram 2 years before this, and I didn't know about it. So it was it put me in a bit of a downer, a bit down for a couple of days. Well, the day after this was taken. And I was doing a talk in the evening, and I thought I would go for the day. The motorway at that time of night, 6 o'clock when I'd be traveling, is horrendous. So I thought, well, I'll go and visit friends. And it's not very far away from me where I was doing the talk, but I thought I'll go and photograph the crocus at an old churchyard where I was born and brought up. So it was my childhood playground. And when I say playground, it sounds a bit wrong that it's a churchyard, but we were very good children, and there are adults around most of the time. But it was so familiar to us. And it's a 1,000-year-old church. And fortunately, it was unlocked that particular day, so I could go in and have a walk round. I got there, and it was sunshine and a bit of shadow, but some of the crocus were in shadow. I took macro lenses. I wanted to photograph bees, and the sun wasn't in on all of them, so they weren't fully opened. So instead, I decided I'd try something different. So I lay down amongst the gravestones, and these are the really old ones, crumbling, but I've known them for years, so they're like old friends. So, I was very respectful. I wasn't, well, I don't think I was lying on anybody's grave, but I was lying there. And I was shooting through the grass in this one. And so my camera was down on the floor, and I think I had a 70 to 200 mil f2.8 lens on, shooting at 200. And I was focusing through the other flowers onto ones beyond. And in the occasional one, there was a gravestone that you may not recognize as a gravestone because it's so out of focus. And I just lay on the floor. It was wet, so I did have some plastic, but I didn't get all of myself on the plastic, but that didn't really matter. I'd dry out by the evening anyway. And as I lay there, I suddenly saw the funny side of it. And I thought, if there are any visitors, they won't be able to see me as they come through the lich gate and walk up the path. I could just get up and sort of do this. And I thought, that's a bit naughty. I shouldn't do that. But the reason I've included this is because after being told what I was told the day before, I suddenly felt at peace. Maybe it was because this was where I was brought up. It was my home. And it was just, all my worry from the day before disappeared, and I felt really calm and peaceful. And so I stayed there for a couple of hours until it started to rain, unfortunately. And I got lots and lots of photographs of all different angles. It was difficult without crushing them, and I did get some bees. So, it just, it made me realise that, there are calm places, and it was nice. And nobody came to visit the church, so I couldn't jump up I couldn't have jumped up anyway after being lying down for so long. So,
But
yeah.
I think it also demonstrates how photography changes depending upon the situation and circumstances you find yourself in
Yeah.
as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And there's some sort of thing there, the story there of life from death. you've got the gravestones, and in some of them the gravestones are more noticeable, and then you've got this new life. And I thought, well, if you're buried here, it's probably nice that you've got crocus growing on you, and they're growing all over the graves. But that's the old part there. And my grandparents and my dad are buried further down, further round. So, and then this last one was taken just over a week ago in London, and I'll just read something to you that I saw that Helen Mirren wrote this. She said, "One of the greatest gifts of growing older is discovering the magic of solitude. Once it felt like loneliness, now it feels like freedom. There's a quiet kind of joy in realizing that your own company is enough. Happiness comes from being at home within yourself." And whilst I understood all that, and I'm quite happy, and I quite like the peace and quiet in the house and in the garden, and I do like going out, and like in the graveyard, I was on my own, the solitude. But then I spent a few days in London photographing with four fantastic people that I knew. I didn't know them all, apart from one. I didn't know them really well, but I do know them really well now. And we just had such good fun. And I thought, I looked at these photographs. We all four of us had an app on the phone, Average Cam Pro, and we were just taking photographs of multiple exposures and then going, oh, look what I've got. Look, if you do this, if you do that, sharing and being with people and showing what you've got. I could have done this on my own, and I wouldn't have got half the fun and enjoyment. So solitude's okay in its place, but this is why I enjoy coming on the Camversation walks, being with like-minded people and doing things and sharing. Sharing is the biggest thing we can do with photography. So this is just one, and I haven't edited many of them yet. I haven't had chance, but this was just one that's a double exposure. I think I may have actually cheated. I think this one was a double exposure in Photoshop rather than with the Average Cam Pro, because I went a bit silly and did 8 exposures. So, but yeah, it was really good place to play. So this one reminds me that friends and groups and all of this is very important as well.
Thank you. And you mentioned using Average Cam Pro or perhaps cheating in Photoshop, but I'm not sure cheating would be in Photoshop. It wasn't so long ago, Linda, that cheating would have been on the phone. So amazing
Yeah,
how these things change.
yeah.
When you are looking at things like this, I suppose, how are you hoping to pre-visualize it? Or indeed, do you pre-visualize it? Do you wait until there's a certain sort of grouping of people, or do you just sort of fire away and see what you end up with in that playing sense?
Well,
In this example.
there were a lot of people there, and they'd go to the windows and move away and go to the windows and move away. And I just shot the images, and then I got fed up with it. So I asked 3 people to stand, and I asked everybody else to move out of the way. Very, very, I was very respectful. I said, please, would you just wait and let me photograph these? And they must have thought I was a professional photographer. I don't know. But I just put one in each window and took some photographs of them. And then I was chatting to somebody else, and these poor people were standing there still staring out at the windows. So you do a bit of both. And very often I'll just ask people to do something or stand somewhere. And if they say no, that doesn't matter. But I do like the candid stuff, but sometimes it's not working, so you need to just talk to people and do it. And if they think I'm a balmy old lady, I don't care.
Well, having been out photographing with you, Linda, a couple of times, I don't think I've ever seen anyone refuse to do something you've asked them to do.
Oh, do say please and thank you. It's probably with being a teacher, Mark.
That's what it is. They tell that assertiveness and think, I've got to do this.
Yes.
And so with this, when you are looking and when you're using apps on the phone, are you often leaving it and doing everything on the phone, or are you, as in this example, throwing it back into more advanced editing techniques? I mean, I know you said that it's the first time or one of the early times you've played with this particular app in phones, but I'm really interested as to where you take it from this point.
Um, I just do both. I look at the ones when they come off my camera and think, I could probably change that a bit, I'll put another one on. I think it's the same one. I've just flipped it and enlarged it, and then used a blend mode, probably the light and blend mode, to bring it through. And again, I've done another one where the floor's completely disappeared, and I don't know really how I did it. I'd have to look back at my layers. I'm just playing as with everything. So I've got the ones on the phone that I can crop and do a little bit with, but with Photoshop, I can put different ones on and play with them.
I'll do that. This is a lovely shot, by the way, Lynda. I didn't mean to question you on it. I just really enjoyed it when I saw it. I thought, oh my goodness, it's a brilliant shot.
Well, to me, it represents the fact that there were people there, and then there were more coming, and they were, it was constantly changing. But it was just such a fantastic setting, so high above the city.
Okay, Lynn, so thanks for sharing your top 5, and you've kindly got some information on another photographer that you'd like to share, someone that you'd like us all to look out for as well, I believe.
Her name's there, Sylvia Slavin. Her photography caught my eye. She's on Facebook. Her website isn't working at the moment. She's not using that. These are quite old images. Sadly, she had some tragic event happen 7 years ago, and I spoke to her and asked her, could I use her images just to show, because they really, they gave me, I just love them. I just love the way she captures these photographs, these wonderful images. And she was the one that started me off really on different lenses. So I've got about 3 or 4 lenses that she'd recommended that she used. And she does, when I watched Lynn Blount's talk, and she recommended Joe Stephen, and her work is very similar. I guess as creatives, we just look at these sort of images and go, oh, wow. And a lot of hers include wildlife. She lives in Swaledale, as it says, digital Swaledale there. So she's in a beautiful part of the country. And she's just has this ethereal quality to it. And it is just using either apps on a phone, or she does do some Corel Painter, but I don't think I've used any of hers. The one on the left there is an infrared with a lens baby lens. So that's how she captured that one. And again, it's just got that really soft, light, beautiful, ethereal feel. And another, a spider and some drops in a web. I just think it's so creative and so wonderful to see her work. And as I said, sadly, 7 years ago, she lost her son tragically, and she's admitted to me that she lost her mojo, but she's just starting to get back into it again. So hopefully she'll be posting more on her. She does have a Facebook page, and she reposts things as they come up on her memories. But this one was taken with an app. I don't know which one. She doesn't mention it on it, but different apps. And obviously she's put things together in Photoshop. And again, it's just that soft, beautiful, light feel. I don't know what she's used for this, but it just makes you want to go there, makes me want to go there. I'm not a landscape photographer at all, but if I can do landscapes like this with creative lenses, I'd go. And then perhaps she's put the bird on later, who knows? But I just think it's really, really lovely work. And the last one, that is, I wrote it down, Culloden Tower in Richmond. That's the Richmond up north, not the Richmond down south, Richmond, Yorkshire. So it's Culloden Tower, and it's a multi-exposure and intentional camera movement. So she's, I think that was, I can't remember now, but it was one that she's reposted and re-edited, I think she said. But again, it's just that lovely feeling about it, the sunny feel, sunlight, and just yeah, it goes through all her work. It's all the same. It's beautiful. And I hope she does start again. It would be nice to see them again.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing these as well. And we'll let Sylvia know that we've shared them. I know you've already been in contact with her, but we'll let Sylvia know
Yes.
that we've shared them as well, because it is beautiful work. It really is. So, Lynda, thank you so much for being part of this. I will edit this as quickly as I can. I will share it with you and get it out. But it's been wonderful to see the images that matter to you, and also some really poignant images in there as well. And we
Yeah.
look forward to your next presentation.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Thank you for asking me.
Always welcome. Take care.
Okay. All right. Bye.
As always, thanks for supporting Camversation and our 5 from the archive from Lynda. Lynda has 2 presentations that are available on demand on the website, and also a brand new one coming up.